First of all, address that elephant in the room. Are you a cannibal?
You know what you have to do to be a cannibal?
But the reason they would believe it is because you said it. I'm 100% a cannibal. Have you ever eaten any human flesh?
Not a question I'd ever thought I'd have to answer, by the way.
How many women were there from that point? 500?
Sure. This was a very intense, very sexually charged between two people. Different people have different sexual fantasies, but I don't think that's any different than when someone looks at a baby and goes, oh my God, look at those cute little fat legs. I just want to eat you up.
Some careers end with a fade, others end with a crash. And sometimes it just takes one moment, one tweet, one comment, one night. These celebrities had it all, and then they didn't. Today, we're diving into the stars who lost everything because of a single, irreversible mistake. He had it all. Armie Hammer wasn't just some random Hollywood pretty boy. He came from serious money. His great-grandfather was oil tycoon Armand Hammer. Yes, that hammer. Worth hundreds of millions. Armie grew up in luxury, mansions, private jets, elite prep schools, the works. But he still carved out a career of his own. With piercing blue eyes, a superhero jawline, and a voice seemingly made for epic monologues, he quickly became Hollywood's it guy. His breakout performance came in The Social Network, where he played not one but two smug, muscular Ivy League twins. Directors loved him, casting agents loved him, audiences loved him. He seemed poised to be the next Brad Pitt. By the time he starred opposite Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name, people were whispering Oscars. He had the charm, the pedigree, and the momentum to take over Hollywood. But instead of headlines about award nominations, Armie Hammer found himself on the front page for something much darker. In 2021, everything unraveled. Anonymous Instagram accounts, most notably one called House of Effie, began leaking screenshots of alleged DMs sent by Hammer. These weren't your average celebrity thirst traps. They were disturbing, graphic, and violent. Stuff you'd expect to find in a dark corner of Reddit, not from a movie star. The messages described extreme BDSM fantasies involving domination, blood, knife play, and even cannibalism. Yes, cannibalism. One message infamously read, I am 100% a cannibal. I want to eat you. This wasn't a joke or some edgy kink. It was the moment the internet collectively froze. Even in a hypersaturated media culture that thrives on shock, this was too much. Then, more women began to speak up. Some shared accounts of emotional manipulation. Others alleged behavior that bordered on abuse and coercion. A disturbing pattern began to take shape. Hammer denied doing anything illegal, insisting everything was consensual.
People called me a cannibal, and everyone believed them. That's hilarious.
But public perception had already turned. The court of public opinion found him guilty. Hollywood wasted no time. He was dropped from every major project he had lined up. Death on the Nile, gone. Shotgun Wedding with Jennifer Lopez, recast. The Offer, a prestige series about The Godfather, canceled. His agency, WME, dropped him. His publicist walked. And everyone else who once called him a rising star quietly backed away. Then, just when it seemed the saga couldn't get any more surreal, TMZ reported that Armie Hammer was working at a resort in the Cayman Islands, selling timeshares. Yes, really. The same man who once acted alongside Gal Gadot was now giving PowerPoint presentations to middle-aged honeymooners from the Midwest. One day he was at the Oscars, the next he was breaking down financing options for a partial ocean view suite. From red carpets to cold calls, from Vanity Fair spreads to beachfront condo packages. Armie Hammer's fall wasn't just a cancellation, it was a spectacle. The internet didn't just end his career, it devoured it. And the wildest part? It all started with a few leaked texts. She was the internet's favorite weirdo, a chaotic, meme-loving, wildly talented force of nature who didn't play by the rules. Doja Cat was quirky, unpredictable, and effortlessly cool. Her rise felt organic. She first caught everyone's attention with the absurdly viral track, Moo! Where she rapped in a cow costume about being, well, a cow. It was ridiculous, hilarious, and weirdly catchy. and that's what made people fall in love with her. But it wasn't just a joke. Doja quickly proved she was more than a meme. Her hit single, Say So, exploded on TikTok and crossed over into mainstream radio, charting on the Billboard Hot 100 and turning her into a pop culture staple. By 2021, she was headlining major festivals, performing at the Grammys, collaborating with megastars, and dominating every algorithm. She had the fashion world watching, the music world praising, and a fan base that worshipped the very ground she danced on. But then, she blew it up. Not all at once, but piece by piece, in a slow-motion unraveling that felt as intentional as it was baffling. The trouble started when she began mocking the very fans who helped make her famous. In a tweet that went instantly viral for all the wrong reasons, Doja wrote, "You guys don't have jobs. You should be working instead of worrying about me." That alone sent shockwaves through her fan base, but she didn't stop there. She began beefing with her own fan accounts. The same kittens who had spent years promoting her, making fan cams, buying merch, and defending her online. In a now infamous thread, she coldly told fans to delete their stan accounts. When people pushed back and asked her to show at least some appreciation for the community that helped build her up, she doubled down. Her response was blunt. "I don't even know y'all. I don't love you." For an artist in 2023, that was the equivalent of career self-sabotage. Because in the age of parasocial relationships, where fans often feel like they know the artists they follow, telling people who've invested emotionally and financially in your success that you don't care about them, that's not just rude, that's nuclear. Her words felt like a betrayal, especially for younger fans who saw her as a quirky big sister or internet bestie. They didn't just unfollow, they revolted. Hundreds of thousands of fans abandoned her social media overnight. Multiple fan pages shut down in protest, some of which had been operating for years and had tens of thousands of followers. It was like watching an entire army walk off the battlefield at once. Her next album release came with far less hype. And while it had some commercial success, it flopped by Doja's own superstar standards. The buzz was gone. Her tour ticket sales dipped. Venues that once sold out in minutes now had empty seats. She wasn't canceled in the traditional sense. There was no criminal scandal, no leaked footage, no legal trouble. But something arguably worse happened. She alienated the people who once loved her. The internet moved on. New artists took her place in the TikTok spotlight. Brands stopped reaching out. The culture that once embraced her eccentricity now rolled its eyes. And in the end, Doja Cat proved a painful truth of internet fame. If you bite the hand that feeds you, especially the obsessive online stan hand, it won't just slap back. It'll take everything with it on the way out. He had one of the most surprising glow-ups in Hollywood. Jonah Hill started his career as the lovable goofball, the funny sidekick in Judd Apatow comedies, the chubby best friend in Superbad, the awkward intern in Get Him to the Greek. But over the years, Jonah quietly transformed into something more than a punchline. He slimmed down, sharpened his acting chops, and earned serious critical acclaim with roles in Moneyball and The Wolf of Wall Street, both of which earned him Academy Award nominations. He wasn't just cracking jokes anymore. He was being mentioned in the same breath as the best actors of his generation. On top of that, Jonah became a voice for mental health awareness. He openly discussed his struggles with body image, anxiety, and insecurity, and his Netflix documentary Stutz, which focused on his relationship with his therapist, was widely praised for its vulnerability and raw honesty. He was no longer just a comedian. He was a thoughtful, evolving artist trying to use his platform for good. But in 2023, that carefully rebuilt public image cracked wide open. His ex-girlfriend, professional surfer Sarah Brady, posted a series of private text messages from Jonah that shocked the internet. In the texts, Hill repeatedly used therapy speak and psychological jargon to impose restrictions on her behavior. He asked her to stop posting photos of herself in a bikini, even though she was a surfer and her career depended on it. He told her to avoid friendships with men. He even asked her to take down existing photos from her Instagram. He framed it all as boundaries. But to many, it didn't read as healthy communication. It read as manipulation. Words like safe space, triggering, and control issues were tossed around, not in the service of growth, but in the service of controlling her. It was therapy language weaponized. The internet lit up with commentary. Therapists, abuse survivors, and influencers weighed in. Countless people saw the situation as a textbook example of how emotional manipulation can hide under the mask of mental wellness. While nothing he said was illegal, it was enough to shift the public perception. Suddenly, the guy who made a documentary about healthy therapy dynamics was being accused of using that very language to gaslight his partner. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. His film Stutz, once praised as intimate and healing, started to feel, at least to some viewers, like an elaborate PR project, an attempt to rebrand himself as a gentle, self-aware man of progress, while behaving very differently behind closed doors. Jonah didn't respond publicly. There was no statement, no counterattack, no carefully crafted Instagram notes apology. But the silence didn't save him. His image took a serious hit. People didn't see him the same way anymore. The boyish charm and earnestness that had once endeared him to audiences now came off as performative. He wasn't canceled, not in the tabloid-splashed court case kind of way, but the damage was done. In an era where authenticity is currency, being exposed as a contradiction is lethal. Jonah Hill didn't fall because of a crime. He fell because people saw behind the curtain, and they didn't like what they found. If this shocked you, hit that like button and subscribe before you accidentally ruin your own career with a text message. Also, comment below. Which celebrity fall from grace hit you the hardest? We're reading every reply. Except the Armie Hammer ones were too scared. Aisha Tyler was everywhere for a while. She was one of those rare entertainers who seemed to pop up in every corner of the industry. She had a successful stand-up career, voiced fan-favorite characters on Archer, held down a recurring spot on Whose Line Is It Anyway?, and brought wit and intelligence to daytime TV as a co-host on The Talk. She was smart, funny, charismatic, and versatile. Someone who could bounce between edgy animated comedies and heartfelt talk show segments without missing a beat. But in 2017, during a live taping of The Talk, a single offhand comment completely shifted public perception of her. The hosts were having a conversation about the challenges of being a working mother, a topic that naturally hits close to home for a lot of viewers. That's when Aisha, who doesn't have children, chimed in with a remark that was meant to be funny, maybe even empowering. But it didn't land that way. She said something along the lines of, "I don't have kids, and I work harder than all of you." Whether it was a joke or a jab, the internet was not amused. Social media exploded. Critics called the comment elitist, tone-deaf, and dismissive of the real, exhausting struggle that working mothers deal with every single day. Moms sounded off in Facebook threads. Twitter went in. And sponsors, always quick to react to public outrage, didn't appreciate the wave of negative attention. The backlash wasn't loud and messy. It was quiet and heavy. Aisha didn't get publicly canceled, but she quietly stepped away from The Talk later that year. No drama, no scandal. Just an exit. And while she has continued to work consistently in voice acting, podcasting, and hosting gigs, that household name energy she once carried seemed to fade. She never quite returned to that peak level of visibility. Her fall wasn't based on crime or controversy. It was just a single sentence said on live television that hit the wrong nerve. Sometimes that's all it takes. Phoebe Bridgers went viral during her Saturday Night Live debut in 2021, but not for the reasons most musical guests do. It wasn't the emotional delivery of her song or a stunning vocal performance that lit up Twitter. No, it was the last few seconds of her set. As the final note rang out, Phoebe walked up to a monitor, lifted her Dane electro guitar over her head, and smashed it on stage. Sparks flew, people gasped. And in that moment, she did what so many rock legends had done before her. She tried to cement her status with a rebellious, theatrical gesture. The problem? Phoebe Bridgers isn't in a rock band. She's an indie singer-songwriter with a devoted, sensitive fan base built around quiet heartbreak, poetic lyrics, and raw vulnerability. The guitar smash didn't read as rock and roll. To many, it read as cringy. Social media responded fast and harsh. Twitter called the move try hard, mocking it as a staged attempt at edginess. Critics labeled it performative and unnecessary. Conservative voices jumped in, slamming it as violent and destructive. Liberals took a different route, criticizing the act as wasteful and environmentally tone-deaf. And then came the most cutting remark of all, from legendary musician David Crosby, who simply tweeted one word, pathetic. That one word alone seemed to validate the backlash. Still, Phoebe didn't apologize. She leaned into the moment, owning the chaos and telling interviewers she had fun doing it. She made jokes about how hard it was to actually break the guitar and shrugged off the outrage. But not everyone was laughing. While she wasn't canceled in the traditional sense, many believe the incident stalled her momentum just as she was about to fully break into the mainstream. Before SNL, Phoebe was on the verge of indie superstardom, becoming full-blown pop culture recognition. After SNL, the hype faded. Her next album didn't chart as high. The tour buzz that had once followed her everywhere began to fizzle. She still had a core audience, but the wider appeal that was beginning to form seemed to evaporate. She didn't lose her career, but she may have lost her shot at that next-level breakthrough. Sometimes, one misread moment is all it takes to hit a glass ceiling. And in Phoebe's case, that moment happened in front of millions, guitar in hand. If there were ever a case study for someone canceling themselves simply by being exactly who they are, Azealia Banks would be Exhibit A. From the beginning, she had everything it takes to be a superstar. She could wrap circles around her peers, she could sing with ease, and her debut single, 212, was an instant classic. It was raw, catchy, aggressive, and weird in all the right ways. Critics adored her debut album, broke with expensive taste, praising it for its experimental production, sharp lyrics, and genre-defying sound. She wasn't just promising, she was special, the type of artist who could define a generation. But as quickly as her music pulled people in, her online behavior pushed them right back out. Azealia couldn't stop tweeting, and more importantly, she couldn't stop starting fights. Over the years, she went after almost everyone. Big names, random fans, entire nations. Iggy Azalea, Zayn Malik, Cardi B, the UK as a whole, Sky Jackson, Russell Crowe, and even Elon Musk found themselves in her crosshairs. Sometimes it was petty. Other times it was outright offensive. She insulted people's appearances, used racial and homophobic slurs, and mocked anyone who called her out for it, always defending herself by saying she was just being real. She claimed honesty over decorum and unapologetically leaned into the chaos. But eventually, even Twitter, the Wild West of social media, decided she'd gone too far. The platform banned her permanently. It wasn't a temporary suspension. It was a digital exile. And yet, despite her reputation, no one could deny her talent. That's what made it all the more frustrating. She became a punchline in the industry, too gifted to dismiss, too problematic to work with. Labels hesitated. Brands avoided her. Artists who admired her skills were scared to collaborate. Every time she dropped new music, it was met with the same reaction. She's still got it. But damn, why does she always have to say that stuff? Her art was brilliant, but her commentary distracted from it every time. She never got the Grammy nominations she deserved. She never rose to the heights that her music clearly could have taken her. Now, Azealia Banks is better known for her controversies than her catalog. People remember the chickens in her closet, her Instagram rants, the bizarre beefs with people who had never even mentioned her before. Her name trends more for meltdowns than music. In a different timeline, she'd be selling out arenas. Instead, she's become a cautionary tale, an artist who couldn't get out of her own way. Azealia Banks didn't just get canceled. She tweeted herself out of a career. In today's world, you are one screenshot away from exile. One comment, one tweet, one live mic moment. And the court of public opinion It doesn't care about apologies, or context, or nuance. Some of these stars might bounce back. Others, they'll live in the "where are they now" section, all because of one mistake.